In Truth and in Spirit, World of Worship Fellowship. iTiS is the abbreviation for In Truth and in Spirit, World of Worship Fellowship. And we get that from John chapter 4, verse 24. We are a Christian fellowship. We believe in Christ alone, no additions, no subtractions. And we normally have online fellowships every Monday and Thursday. Today is Thursday. And the Monday fellowships are usually Q&A style, about any question, really, from the Bible, from life, from marriage, from sex, from prophecy, religion. We attempt questions every Monday. So if you have a question for us, you can always join us. All right. Yeah, and of course, you can also send it to me via WhatsApp or even put a comment on our YouTube channel where we upload all the recordings, and we'll be happy to discuss and upload. Yeah, so we upload all the discussions we have here. Our YouTube channel, which is also iTiS, World of Worship Fellowship. iTiS is iTiS, World of Worship Fellowship. So you can always find all our previous discussions there, as well as some sermons from Sunday. Thursday we reserve for what we call the catch-up, weekly catch-up, which is typically a social topic. It could be politics, it could be economics, it could be social, it could be again related to marriage, but now from the social side of things. So today we have what I would think is a continuation of the Monday Q&A. On Monday we discussed employment versus entrepreneurship. Okay, basically employment is demonized, is stereotyped as bad, and everybody should have a business, everybody should start a business, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in that discussion, obviously go and listen to the recording that we did on Monday. Today I want us to talk about the Ugandan Dream. The Ugandan Dream, of course, is adopted from what is typically called the American Dream. Everybody dreams of going to the United States to achieve their dreams. For some reason, their dreams can never be achieved in their countries. So everybody, or should I say, most people dream of going to America, obviously because of what they see on TV, what they see on the internet, social media, clean streets, lots of money, functional systems, social services, and so on and so forth. This is true for many people from what is classified as third world countries in Africa, South America, and Asia. So yeah, so that's the American dream. But today we want to talk about the Ugandan dream in the context of what does success look like. Chasing the American dream is chasing money, chasing fame, chasing money, chasing power, and so on and so on and so forth. Is it the same in the context of the Ugandan? Okay, so what is the Ugandan dream? Is there any such thing like a Ugandan dream? Or are we just adopting the American dream and calling it the Ugandan dream? It's been said, what is that? Is that 1, 2, 3, 4? The Ugandan dream is one wife, 2 children, 3-bedroomed house, and a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So if you achieve those, you have achieved the Ugandan dream. Obviously, the house is on a 50 by 100 typically in a suburb of Kampala, or a squeezed part of the upper, where the rich stay. Yeah, so the Ugandan dream has been described as 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that so, or should that be so? So today we're going to discuss what is the Ugandan dream, or what should be the Ugandan dream. Is it only about money, about status? Is it about family, or there's something more we need to be chasing? All of us, without exception, work hard for our families, to fend for our families, go back to school to get degrees, postgraduate degrees, diplomas, and so on and so forth, just so we could earn more money, take care of our families, probably become rich and retire to a ranch somewhere. So is that all? Is that what success means? Okay. What should success look like in the context of Uganda? Many times you say we adopt things from foreign countries and we adopt them here without necessarily customizing them. I think that's our problem. We've adopted the Western culture, and somehow it's eroding our own culture here, but we basically didn't just pick the good parts, we just copied and pasted without even editing. So I want us to discuss the Ugandan dream. What should it be like? What should success look like for a young man today in Uganda? many people are forced into careers they will typically not do. You find someone saying, this course is marketable. Marketable meaning it's easy to find jobs. So someone ends up doing maybe law or whatever. At some point, it used to be engineering, then law. In my time, it was IT, computer science. So young men are forced into these careers or jobs which they don't necessarily like just because you can earn money. So what should a young man do when he has a choice to make? Choice to make meaning should he chase the dream, meaning get into this career or whatever it is, just for the money? On last Friday, I was talking to one of the young men. He qualified as a mechanical engineer from Makerere University, but currently he's an auditor. He's an auditor with PwC. And of course, the question was like, what happened? You had always wanted to be an engineer, you qualified as an engineer. Now you're an auditor with PwC. Of course, the auditor role is much bigger. Probably thought about starting from scratch as a mechanical engineer and then like, maybe PwC is better. So, anyway, what is the Ugandan dream? What should it be like? Is it all about money? Are there other factors we need to look at? If you look at your life at 70, at 80 years, how can you say you've been a success? What do you look like? What does life look like? What does your legacy look like? And so on and so forth. Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, let me start with you, Pedson, since your microphone is on. First of all, is there any such thing like a Ugandan dream?
Eh, from the context you had earlier explained it, yes, because the culture and the environment dictates what was supposed to be. For example, on the academic side, the standard is a degree. Now it has been moved to a degree. Then they expect you to have an income generating job or work. Then you expected on the social life, you expected to have a spouse and children. Then now the side of the job, the income generating work comes with a car, comes with a house, comes with a good education for your children, and your looks, how you dress and all that. So everyone everyone looks up to that, and usually that is always our objective, to tick all the boxes that the culture, also the environment has set before us. And the other thing which is so interesting is that some of these things they even attach timelines. For example, you need to get this by this time, you need to get this by this time, and we're always working towards that. That's what I can say.
Okay, before I let you go, who set this standard?
Society
Because
just sets them, and they may not be cast in stone, but these are things that I'm trying to paraphrase the saying, when it's common practice, it ends up becoming like a law that is written in our mind. It may not be written in ink, but that is it. As in, we grew up looking up to these people, and we think that that's what we're supposed to do, and we do it. The people that are following us also do the same. So it just becomes a norm, and before you know it, it's the standard.
okay, let me also take you back a little bit, Pedson. Before all this colonialism and capitalism came here, what was our definition of success as Africa? Or at least the people who are living in this part. How would you define success then?
It was there. I think one was on on wealth. For example, like from our side, now from our side we have two sub-tribes, if I may say. We have the Abiru, we have the Bahima. Now, the standard for wealth was cows. So in the Bahima side, if you had a certain number of cows, then you're probably in the lower class. If you have a certain number of cows, you're in the middle class. If you have a certain number of cows, you're in the first class, and you're even allowed to put on a hat. Now, on the other side of ours, Abiru, if a Mwiru had a cow, even if it was one, because cows were actually very, very, like how you see gold now, they are very precious, to the extent that women were exchanged for cows. That's how precious cows are. So, that was a measure, like cows. I will not talk about food because it seems by then it was maybe like a resource that was available. I think each and every home had food, at least for the people that are coming from there. Occasionally they would get shocks, like maybe famine would come once in a while, but at least food would not be a measure of success. Everyone needed to have food. Then the other measure of success, or the other measure was when someone is wealthy. Remember, now I've talked about the cows, but then you find this someone has many wives and many children. So that even makes his family more stronger, because his children, they used to consider them as pillars in a hut. The more children you have, the more stronger you are, meaning that you go on for generations and generations and generations. So, me, that's what I can say.
Okay, and of course, if you came to the Baganda, in addition to that, of course, without the cows, then there was land. To the Baganda who valued land.
But in the Baganda,
Okay, so it's in.
wasn't land
Sorry?
wasn't land owned by by the Kabaka.
No, not all of it. Not all of it.
Hey.
There was still landlords even. Just that the people, the Kabaka had most of the land, and then he gave most of it to his friends. But yes, there was a bit of ownership of land. So in addition to the children and you've mentioned, I think land is a factor. So it seems to me that even from before capitalism and colonialism, these things were still important. Having land, having a family, of course there were no cars back then, but maybe later on when the bicycles came. So it seems to me that nothing much has really changed substantially. Or should I say essentially?
Our thinking,
From our definition of success.
our thinking hasn't changed that much.
Okay, so in other words, we should not fault the young people today for chasing after these things we have mentioned. The 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, now the wives are just one wife, 2 children, 3-bedroom house on a 50 by 100, and then the 4-bedroom. So we shouldn't blame these young men who clamor after, because that's how we've always defined success in society. Of course, later on we shall be asking ourselves whether that should be the measure or not. Okay, thank you, Peterson. Let me cross over to Ariong. Ariong, are you there? I know you also come from the Teso and Karamojong culture, where cows were considered a sign of wealth and therefore success. Tom, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You're driving, eh?
Yes, I'm driving.
Eh?
I am driving, but I can talk. If you won't mind
Okay.
the echo.
You have that beeping sound. Is it
I was reversing. But
The man is driving without a seatbelt.
driving without a seatbelt? The car is warning. These are the people we call successful. They drive without seat belts, even when the car is telling them to wear seat belts. Tom, what is the Ugandan dream in your opinion? Is it different from what you've already described, or you feel it's the same thing?
I no, I don't know how to say it, but I think it is tied to a way of life, tied to how somebody lives their life, how able somebody is to live life they think is good life, where they can afford the basics and have something extra for leisure. Maybe in addition to what you already described.
Is it possible to have one standard of life for everybody? Is that even fair or possible?
I don't think that is possible, given that everybody has their own level of achievement. It is not a uniform thing.
It's not a uniform thing. Okay, if it's not a uniform thing, can I call myself successful when I am not rich, materially speaking? Can I say I'm successful? I don't have a house, I don't have a family, I don't have property. Can I consider myself successful in that case?
Success is a way of saying I have reached this point, and this point is where I desired to reach. So if success to you and your education, you being able to drive a car, or being able to get a job, whatever job it is, I think that should be success to you. You can't really say what I consider success should be what you consider success.
Okay, as long as I've moved from one step to another, I can consider myself successful.
If
Even
the
if I
step
don't have
you've
what
gone,
everybody else.
if the step you've gone to is what you think is the epitome of all the steps you want, the highest of all steps you want to reach, then you are successful.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Tom. Welcome, Brenda, Peter, and Sandra. Priesta Isaiah, are you there? We're discussing what we call the Ugandan Dream. In my introduction, I said this is, of course, copied from what is typically known as the American Dream. Somehow, everybody thinks when they migrate to America, their dreams will all come true. Okay, yeah, it could be America, it could be Europe, but we still call it the American Dream. So I want us to discuss the Ugandan Dream. What is it anyway? Is it possible to have one standard of a dream for everybody? Okay. Can I consider myself successful without money, without family, without status? Can I consider myself successful without being rich? What should success? How should we measure success? What should success look like? That's why we're here today. So Isaiah, I know you're one of those who don't like being painted in a broad brush or being put in a certain standard, especially where you didn't contribute. What is the Uganda? What is success according to you, or what should it be? Now that we know what we're measuring it by now today, what should it be really? This thing we call success.
Yeah, if I am to start with your question, for me, success is the quality of your life. And not the quantity of your life, but the quality of your life. For me, that is what success is.
How do you measure that quality of life?
You measure it by how you think, how you feel, your fears, your worries, and your pursuits. For me, that is success. You are successful at that level.
Okay, then do you then agree that that definition has not changed even from our forefathers to us today? It's just the materials that have changed, but that has never been, the definition has always been that. Would you agree?
No, I don't agree. It has changed tremendously.
Explain.
You see, our forefathers were not fugitives like we are. And
What
they
do you
did
mean
not
by
have, we are fugitives. That's why we have things like Ugandan Dream, American Dream. Because that whole idea, let me start with the United States. That whole thing of the American Dream was not started by comfortable Americans. It was started by migrants.
Mm.
So those were fugitives. Whenever you hear people say Ugandan dreams, you are dealing with that category. People who are being chased are the people who are always dreaming. These dream things are for poor people and fugitives. People are being chased by circumstances and situations. There is no rich man who is dreaming. Comfortable people don't dream, they do. Our forefathers were comfortable and they were doing. And their definition of success was not in materialistic wealth, what they have and what they don't have. No. Their definition of success was already established in their value system. And in their definition of the problem. For instance, what were our forefathers solving? What problems were they dealing with? If you look at their life. And then look at us. What are the problems that we're dealing with? Within what value system? So this is where the Ugandan dream is born. It is born from what problem are we solving? Therefore, what is chasing us? And what are we running away from? And what is our value system? For instance, what is the other system that you always give? 3, 4, 1?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
One wife, 2
One wife?
children, 3-bedroom house, 1 4-wheel drive car.
Okay.
1,
One
2,
wife?
3. That's the Ugandan. One wife, 2 children.
One wife? 2 or 3? 2 children?
You could say 3. Okay, you can switch the 2 and the 3. But okay, ideally you have some children, then you have a little house, and then you have a car.
One wife,
Uh,
2 children, 1 car,
and
and
1 house.
3
Okay, 3-bedroom house or whatever, but a house. So basically, as
bedroom.
long as you have a spouse, you have children, you have a small house where you're staying, and you have a kanyabulonji, yeah, the Ugandan dream is sorted. That's what it's saying.
Now, now, one wife, our forefathers did not have one wife. 2 to 3 children, our forefathers had from 10 to and above. For them, the car was not as important, but maybe you can replace a car with a bicycle, which a bicycle was a later invention. Then the house was, of course, paramount. But the question, moderator, what is a dream if you are not happy after reaching it? What is a
And
dream?
that seems to be the normal.
Exactly.
Many people chase what they think they don't have, then when they get it and realize happiness does not reside there. So they again keep chasing.
Exactly. Then how can we qualify this as a dream? The 1, 2, 1, 3. We cannot, because we have just discovered that people are not successful even with one wife, 3 children, 1 car, and 3-bedroom house. People do not feel successful. They are working as hard as they were working before they got these. So have they achieved their dream? No.
They're working harder.
They're working harder. Yes. So have they achieved, are these workaholics, have they reached their dream? The answer is
They're
no.
still chasing it.
What are now? What dream are they? If this is the Ugandan dream, what dream are they chasing? So for me, this is not the Ugandan dream. The Ugandan dream, it has failed at the point of our value system and at the point of our definition of the problem. What is the problem? Because I can tell you, my brothers and sisters who are here, until you define the problem, you will never understand why you are working and why you are doing what you are doing. You won't. You cannot set a dream in a materialistic way like this one. Wife, children, car, house. And you call this a dream? This is a goal. This is a materialistic goal. It's not a dream. Because where are you in all of this? Because 1, 2, 3, 4 are all problems. Did you notice?
You're solving problems.
These are all problems. The wife is problematic, children are chaos, the car is problem, the house is problem. And you call this a dream. So well, this can be a dream to the fugitives, because I cannot, like I earlier told you, even the so-called American dream was born out of fugitives. By fugitives. It was fugitives who came up with this whole idea, American dream. They were running away from something. The big question that I would like other presenters to think about is, what are we running from? What have we defined as the problem? 1, 2, what are our value systems? Why do we have a poor quality of life amidst abundance? There's this too much poor quality of life and living in this quantitative environment of ours that we have created. So for me, that's what I can say.
Okay, thank you. My brother Peter, are you there? Can you talk? Or you're in
Hey, I'm
Virginia?
walking home, but I can talk.
Yes, we're discussing the Ugandan dream. How far along are you with achieving your dream? Let me start there.
I've so far driven 2 cars. As I speak now, I have none. Both cars that I've driven were imported. I imported them. As I speak now, I am walking home. Defining success by what you have is one of the standards of the world. It's one of the standards of the world. And you know, when you achieve it, or when you achieve them, the world sees you as successful. But in addition to what Priest White has just clarified, the question of success should be asked to me at 2 levels. 1, when you set a goal, did you achieve it? Yes, I achieved it. Then you succeeded. Did you not? Then you did not succeed. That's number 1. Number 2, When you are alone, what do you feel? What do you think? Do you think and feel you've achieved it when you are alone? To me, success is defined at that point. When you are alone in that four-wheel drive car, when you are alone in that 4-bedroom house, when you are alone without your wife, maybe she's gone to work and children have gone to school, and you are alone, what do you feel? That will tell you whether you're successful or you're not. I submit for now.
That view, okay. Peterson, your hand is up. Peterson?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Now, I wanted to come in at that point. Isaiah said that things have changed from the past, but I want to say that nothing has really changed much. Though we are not in the past generation, neither are we going to be in the generations that are going to come. But at least human understanding and human thinking and behavior is almost the same. In the past, they did not have cars, but they had precious commodities. Commodities they used to consider commodities of value. I'll give an example. A commodity like salt was a very, very precious commodity, and people who used to have salt were also considered to be rich people. Now, for us who are close from the generations in the 90s, having a telephone, someone was considered to be a very rich person. Later come now, but now each and everyone has a telephone. So there's something that has replaced the telephone there's something that has now replaced the telephone now, which some few people have. Everyone might be having a telephone, but there's that one thing that is considered that this one is rich because he has a certain commodity. Whereas the telephone in the 90s was used for communication, each and every person was communicating, but the cream were communicating using a telephone. That's why they are considered to be different. So the point I wanted to come in is that in every generation, there are commodities they consider to be of high value, and usually the people that possess such commodities are considered to be the most successful within that environment. And this has happened across all generations. So it's not that there's something that really has. In fact, even in the Bible, there's where I think Solomon says that there's nothing new under this sun. Whatever you see, people who are before us have seen. People who are going to come after us will see. So really, there's nothing much. Me, that's why I wanted to come in and say I don't think there's really much. We are just the same human beings thinking the way our fathers were thinking.
Okay, let me hear from Isaiah since you're challenging his submission. Isaiah, what would be your response?
I think what Peterson is saying is he's saying that in principle have things changed. Are people still chasing things or not? That hasn't changed. People are still chasing things. Good. But for what purpose? Look at the people today. Are they the same as are we the same as our forefathers? is what we call a dream. Was it a dream for them? Let me give you an example, moderator. What did it take someone to get married? And how much was the dowry in various cultures? How is it today? How is it today? Is it the same? If the Ugandan dream is one wife, how do you get that one wife? The least that you can part with is 25 million shillings. If you woke up our forefathers today and you told them that to marry, you need 25 million shillings, as in millions, they won't understand what you guys are doing. And you need a party of 600 people. They really won't understand that. So for me, things are really different. What you're calling a dream is not. What you're defining as the problem was not the problem then. We have new problems. We have new definitions of value systems. Actually, we even have actually new value systems here. What was valuable for them, it is not valuable for us today. And it is upon those two things that we are building our dream. What is our value system? Today, you can't say anything if you don't have money. Our forefathers lived in communities where everyone had a voice because they are members of that village. Today you can't. They first ask you, who are you? And if you splash money before...
But Isaiah, now then you water down. You know, there are some sayings even like in Uganda which say that omuko mwavu is the one that fetches water kurumbe oba kubuko. Because and there are so many saying, okay, not so many, but there are sayings that we can actually bring and show that these things were even there in the past. Because now just that simple example that the poor in-law is the one that fetches water. So does that in-law have a say when he's kubuko?
Okay. Now, the Baganda here, they will help us. Me and you are Banyankole, but the Baganda here that they will help us and tell you, how did someone qualify to be omwavu and moso omuko omwavu? That would be a person who had failed to pay omutwaro. But how much was omutwaro that omuko omwavu failed? And what were the connotations of omuko omwavu? Because for the Baganda, omuko omwavu comes from obuko obwavu. In other words, this guy is so poor. Number one, even his entire family is poor. And we don't even know how he managed to be omuko in this compound. That is why we don't recognize him as omuko and we assign duties to him while others don't. Ono yabanga muko ng'alemeddwa n'omutwalo gwe yasasula baamusaasira busaasizi. But do you know how much that mutwalo was? And can you compare it with modern mutwalo? You cannot.
Modern mutwalo is sofa sets, flat screens, what else?
And a car.
Trunks.
It depends on what the mother wants. Sometimes the mother wants a different thing and the father wants a different thing. You ask the Bogezo of Mikoro, they will tell you how they struggle with this mitwaro. And you have to send money, but a where you're going to have the kwanjura. You the moko. It has never happened in Baganda culture. The Baganda culture do not know anything like a chidara chokwanjura. They don't, but we have it. Now, part of someone's dream, kwe kwambala gomesi satu n'akyusa.
Success.
That is someone's success today. It wasn't. No Muganda girl ever imagined changing 3 gomasis or 4, having a music system playing. It was upon the head of the family to decide whether he's going to bring the abagoma or not. And if he didn't bring that, it was understandable because it wasn't embaga, it was kwanjula. Mukolo gwa mudiru. But today people are stressed. People are stressed. Young men do not know even how they are going to marry. They're even afraid. That's why they are staying with each other. Because they can't afford the mukolo, which is the Ugandan dream. Do you know how much the gown goes for? It is between 2 million and 5 million a day. What is similar in the ancient cultures, Peterson? What is similar to that? These are the pressures that we are suffering with and we are struggling with.
Now, like, of course, like me, I first started by saying, yeah, we cannot go back to different generations, but we can just use the basics and try to interpret these things here and actually know that maybe things haven't changed that much. Me, I gave an example. In the 90s, owning a telephone was being viewed as a status of a rich family. You've even been seeing these challenges where some people are saying DSTV used to be a status of a rich family. Now, what is the new status? Then someone will say, having a maid who puts on specs, such things. So there's always that thing that identifies a rich. There's always that thing that identifies a rich family, and it may not be DSTV now, but there's something else. There's something different. And also in before the colonialists came, there was also something that used to identify that that family is what is the exceptional. That's why we have some of those things like Oworo, Obugiga, because these things are not coming here in this generation. They have been there. And we are being classified according to those statuses by society, by what we possess, and maybe how we hold those precious things.
My argument is not that the rich and the poor are of today. That's not my argument. My argument is, first of all, to first confirm yours, the rich and the poor have always been here. They are as ancient as human societies are. That I agree. But when we talk about dream, we are discussing the pressure, the mindset, the perception. Our forefathers were not as stupid as we are. The things that stressed them are not the things that stress us. Today, people commit suicide for lack of data to play PS5. And they die. So today, that was unheard of. So the quality of life then.
Isaiah, there's no PS then, but there are also people who used to commit suicide over stupid things.
But they were not committing suicide for stupid things like we are doing.
Let me keep quiet.
You keep quiet.
Because you see, when now you're talking about,
you cannot compare our
you first talked
generation.
about him. You first talked about him.
Okay.
So for us now, I'll give like an example. My father failed to go to high school because he couldn't pay school fees of 200 shillings. He stopped in P7.
It was much.
The uncles, they did what they could, they sold whatever they could. Money refused, and they had to take him to go and learn how to build. So really, and when because now that is the setting. Now you can imagine he married and all that. So the things that those guys went through are also still present right now. But when someone can commit suicide over PlayStation, there's someone probably who committed suicide because of Tonto.
Okay, let me ask a question. These terms poor and rich, and we know they've been here for the longest time. What is the meaning behind those terms? Is it a measure of success? When you say poor, when you say rich,
Yeah.
or is it a measure of success in only one dimension of life? I think that's what we need to discuss. Peterson, what do you think? Okay, of course, you are saying these have always been measures of success.
I think they are. I think they are, and me, I can say this. Me, success, it's all about it. Okay, it's I look at success as one achievement. You had a goal, you've achieved it. Two, growth, moving from one stage to another stage. You've also succeeded. And here we have one great philosopher called Maslow. He even did the pyramid. You see, when God creates human beings, we are all in the lower box. And that's where a majority of us are. Here, we are only chasing for survival, physical needs, and security. You're looking for food, you're looking for water, you're looking for shelter. Then you
But
move
Peterson,
to the next
what
level.
else does a human being besides that? What else does a human being need besides food, shelter?
Now those are the basic things that we need. Actually, even Jesus in Matthew chapter 6 is talking about those particular things that's all you need. Now, when a human being has actually achieved all those things in the lower in the physical needs, then they start moving. Now they start making sections, belongings. Me, I play golf, so I socialize with Sudhir, Ham, and this is Kwagarano group. Now that's also another need. Now, when Jet becomes rich, you have to make sure that you belong to Kwagarana. You have to work hard and belong to that group. Then, of course, from there they go to self-esteem, and then they go to self-actualization. They go to self-actualization. But what is making them to move from one step to another is the motivation to succeed. Because the moment you move from one level to another, you're viewed as a successful person. And I can tell you, most people want to move from that level, the baseline where everyone is, the one that where we are looking for physical needs. We want to go to the next level. When you go to the next level, success will not hold you there. It will push you that now you need to go to the next level. When you reach the next level, it will push you that you have to go to the. Now, the people who have climbed under the top, self-actualization, are viewed as successful and rich. The people who have stayed down, they are viewed as poor and unsuccessful. That is how we are organized.
Okay,
Yeah,
Isaiah, Maslow seems to argue that the definition of success is not fixed, even when you're looking at yourself as an individual without necessarily comparing yourself to others. It seems like success is a moving target, and you'll never reach the destination called success. What do you think?
The whole idea of Maslow is built on the philosophy that success is in chasing air. That is the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen. And I wish Maslow had read Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes, and used Solomon as the example of his ladder. And then after, Maslow was supposed to tell us whether Solomon was successful or not. That is the whole thing. But you see, where Peterson is right is in this. We are broken, foreign, and wrong. What we call success is wrong. Unless if we say there are kinds of success, materialistic success and personal success. Because we all know, at least the mature among us, do understand that regardless of what you have, your feeling matters. Your understanding, your life. I don't know, when I was asking a question, are you happy? Are you fulfilled or not? Because if you're not fulfilled, then you're going to continue with the ladder, the unending ladder of Maslow. That is why I was referring you
Maslow's
to.
ladder doesn't end. You keep going up.
It keeps going up. So where, on which stage on the Maslow's ladder can you claim success? Self-actualization?
According to him, yes, self-actualization.
But you see, what did he tell us that self-actualization was? Because self-actualization is when you are in power. Now let's look for those who are in power. Who has actualized the self that we know? Let's use an example here. This is the problem. So we must define.
The one in power is still climbing the ladder, so we cannot say he has self-actualized.
So he has not self-actualized. We just need to come back and ask ourselves, because our role here is not to establish and affirm to what is, because we know what is helpless, are not working, people are not happy, people are still struggling, and they are struggling with the much they have. Can you imagine struggling within abundance? It's the phenomenon of this generation. People are struggling within abundance. Why? Maybe
They're stressed.
Yeah, they are stressed. Why? Why are they stressed within abundance? Maybe we need to go and review our value systems. What do we call value? Number one. Number two, what is the problem we are solving? For me, if you compare the quality of our life today, in fact, we are richer than our forefathers, because we have just excavated all the wealth that was underground during their period. But we are still not happy. We are still fighting. Our communities are still broken. Our families are breaking up. Our marriages are not working. They were not educated. No, they did not go to school. We went to school. I don't want to use the word education, because they might have been and we are not. So moderator, what is the problem? How have is the way we have defined success really success? Or we have missed something? For me, that is what the things that I am wondering about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is In Truth and in Spirit World of Worship Fellowship, or what is abbreviated as iTiS, World of Worship Fellowship. Today is Thursday. This is our weekly catch-up. The weekly catch-up is where we discuss a topical issue from society, from the economy, from politics, from anywhere really. And today is one of those times, and we're discussing the Ugandan Dream, and we're trying to establish what does success look like today. Okay, is success only about money, status, family, or is something more? Okay, and then of course, individually, we have to ask ourselves, what does being successful mean to me as an individual? Of course, we have established that being successful means moving from point A to point B as an individual, from where you are to another place. Okay, and then of course, we're trying to establish whether you can define yourself as successful when you don't have all these material things. You don't have money, you don't have land, you don't have a car, you don't have a spouse, a family. Can you still call yourself successful? What are those factors influencing our young people today to die of stress, as they call it? You know, chasing this wind called success, or climbing up Maslow's ladder. Maslow's ladder is going to heaven like the Tower of Babel. So, yeah, so what are those factors influencing our young people? Okay, is it the politicians? Is it the musicians? These days, we even have something called influencers. Can you imagine? Why does society need influencers? To influence them towards what? I think these are all things that are leading to our stress. Because, like you've said, Pastor, I think this is the richest we've been. This is the most educated we've been, quote unquote. And yet, this is the most stressed also we've ever been. And you could also argue this is the most stupid we've ever been. Yeah, so we're here to discuss this anyway. That's why we're here. We're here to create a counterculture, even if it's just 3 or 5 people doing the right thing. It is okay. You don't need the masses to do the right thing. So let me hear from some other people who have been silent. Tom, what are your thoughts? Let's talk about young people who really, at least for some of us, are a bit old. We have seen life. But these young people whose role models are musicians, whose role models are politicians, whose role models are influencers, how can we help them to have a good or a proper view of success?
Yeah,
Because this sorry, go on.
we are struggling to find success goal.
I can barely hear you, Tom.
What I'm saying is we are struggling to define success on this goal. We don't have a clear-cut definition of what success is. How then can we be able to guide the young people who are about this success without having them?
Okay, Tom, I can barely hear you, but the little I've heard, you're saying we have not defined success, even in this meeting, and therefore we cannot even attempt to guide the young people. Is that what you're saying, Tom?
Yes. I think I need help really, because if we're struggling all that long to define what success is, how many people who are looking for success can barely discuss what success is? I think the majority. Thank you.
Let me go back to Peter, because I think that's where Peter started off from in his submission. Peter, are you there? Tom wants a classroom definition of success. Can you help him?
I don't know whether I can define or I can describe.
You attempt.
But there are public standards. There are public standards of success. The question is, after you've attained the public standards of success, when you are alone, what do you feel? What do you think? Have you succeeded? Do you feel you have succeeded? That's the question. The question is, are you happy? Like Pastor White uses it. Are you happy? You have a wife. Are you happy? You have children. Are you happy? You have a 4-wheel drive. Are you happy? You have a car. Are you happy? So that's it. First, that is the first. Then the second is, what goals did you set? Did you set to build a house? Yes, you did. Have you built it? Yes. Question. Do you feel you need no better house? Do you feel content? If so, you're successful.
So Peter is saying success is contentment. In whatever situation you have, in whatever accumulation or lack thereof of wealth or material things, Success seems to be a state of mind, state of the heart, a Christian would say. Tom, does that help you?
Well, let me first listen in.
Okay.
Actually,
Ian, good to
moderator,
have you, my brother. Okay, yes, Isaiah. If I go to Ian.
I just want to come in after Peter because me and Peter seem to be close. Our definition, and let me include Professor Peter here. Maybe he'll come and distance himself from this. Our definition of success is what is the quality of your life? You are as successful as the quality of your life. What is the quality of your life? We are not asking the quality of what you have. You see the problem, moderator, when we ask people the quality of their life, they tell us the quality of what they have. I drive a BMW G-Wagon. Fernand. I, I live in Munyonyi. No. What is the quality of your life? You are as successful as the quality of your life. And by that life, we mean your body and your psychology. That is how much successful you are. But you can't tell me that you're a man. You weigh 200 kilograms. You are suffering with obesity. And you tell me that you are successful. You can't tell me that this generation of tugenze kusasanya and they're in bars eating pork, KFC, drinking alcohol, etc. And then they say that they are successful. No, that is grief. You ask any psychologist, the psychologist is here. You ask them, that is grief at display. People are struggling. That's why they are flocking bars and these concerts. People are struggling. People are not happy. They are looking for something that can make them laugh. In fact, in the Ugandan English, they want something that can make them laugh. So
Hedonism is not a sign of success.
No, it is not. It is actually a sign of grief. So you are, for me, you are as successful as the quality of your life. So how are you? Not what you have. Thank you, moderator.
What do you have?
Not what do you have. How are you?
Yeah, some people, when they ask how are you, again they ask it in the form of, I think they normally call them what, life areas. Let me just remember them. But basically they're asking about your personal life. How are you personally? How is your spirituality? Are you growing education wise? Are you learning new things? How is your health? Are you working out physically? How do you feel? How is your health? Yeah, there are about 7 areas, but I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. So is that what you're saying? That how are you should basically answer those questions?
Yeah, you should
Health
answer
wise, how
those
are you
questions.
feeling physically? How is your spiritual relationship with your God or whatever you believe? Are you learning? Are you growing?
Yes,
How are your personal relationships with friends, with family, and so on and so forth?
exactly. You are there's this obvious thing of the three F's. Is it three F's? The finances, the family and friends, okay, and the faith. Now, literally everyone has got these three F's. You have the state of your finances, state of your family, and state of your faith. Now, the question is, now that everyone has all these three F's, finances, family and friends, and of course, then faith. Now, The question is, how do you feel and think? How do you feel and think about your finances? How do you feel and think about your family? How do you feel and think about your faith? How are you? What you will discover is
Exactly.
that,
That's what I was saying. Exactly.
yes, that majority of us are struggling. We are in a war, we are in a battle, we are pursuing the American Ugandan dream. And there is no rest for us. There is no moment for us to pause. Because whenever you pause, you risk dying. So we are in fear, we are frightened, we are fugitives. So you can't tell me that a fugitive financially, a fugitive in family, and a fugitive, you see, yes, Brenda, the Bible says there's no rest for the wicked. A fugitive in faith, you know, fugitives in faith, you can't tell me that they are successful. They can't. For us, for instance, for us Christians, we believe that we already have eternal life and we are okay. Me, I am okay. Right here, as I am.
Some say that encourages laziness. Some argue that encourages laziness.
Exactly. Now, let me respond to that by warning. Not everything that grows is successful. For instance, what is the success of a mango tree? I need an answer.
Producing fruit.
Thank you very much. But if a mango tree grew and it had no fruits, would it be successful and qualify as a mango tree? A mango tree without mangoes looks like mango trees, but it has no mangoes. Therefore, it doesn't qualify as a mango tree. It is the mangoes that qualify the tree to be a mango tree. But what are the mangoes? Are the mangoes a car, a house, a wife? You people, most of us here are married and some of us have been married. But isn't happily married and marriage two different things?
Yep.
So, not everyone who marries and has a very huge wedding has succeeded in marriage. Success in marriage is a different thing. We just want to have a meeting with you after 5 years and then we talk marriage. Success. So growing, this thing that you call laziness has nothing to do with success. In fact, how can you even be successful and lazy? Okay, let me ask you, how can you be lazy about even what you want and what you enjoy doing? We are doing things that we do not enjoy doing because we are looking for money and food. Hence the corruption, hence the cheating, hence the laziness. Let me not take all your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you want to say something, please raise your hand. Or if you can't speak, you can type in the chat. Sandra, are you there? I know you've been listening in, but can you talk now? I think you're one of the young people we have on the call. Are you successful? Do you consider yourself successful?
Well, no comments for now.
You're still chasing your goals. So you feel like you've reached it. Actually,
I'm
maybe we
still
need to also.
chasing my goals. I think I'm still chasing my
Maybe.
goals. There's somewhere I want to be and I am not yet there. So
And
I'm
when you
still
get
in
there,
the
you'll be
struggle for
successful.
success. I'm still in the struggle for success.
Okay, thank you. This whole thing of God. Okay, let me first hear from Ian. Can you talk, my brother? Okay, I guess Ian can talk. Nancha, can you talk? Your network is usually terrible. Let's hear it today.
Yes,
Hey, it's okay, Nancha. The network is not successful. You need to work on it.
It is on a certain
You
step
need
on the
to.
Maslow's ladder.
is it successful?
Nancha, you type in the chat. We can't hear you. Your network is not successful. Yeah. So okay, I guess nobody else wants to say anything. So let me ask this at this point. So okay, we've said success is really individual. How you feel, most importantly, about we talked about the three F's, but also there are other categorizations. So what is this thing of achieving the goals? So are goals separate from success? Can I be content even when I'm still chasing these things? Is it possible? Or it's actually a contradiction for me to try and climb Maslow's ladder when I already consider myself successful. I'm peaceful with my relationships, with my God, with my, and so on and so forth. And then the other thing I also want to ask is, how about this thing of by this time you should be here, by this time you should be here? Even within success itself, are there milestones, for lack of a better word, are there milestones even within success whereby you say, you know what? Because the things that were you at 40, for example, when you're 20, there's something that you no longer worry about as an adult man now. But at 20 or 25, you used to worry about them. So is that then also an indicator of success being milestone based? I don't know if my question is clear. As you grow older, there are certain things you outgrow and drop. Of course, you learn what's important and what's not important. Is it therefore correct when I say there are certain milestones even within success itself? I don't know if my question is clear.
Yes, it is. It is clear.
Do you want to attempt? For example, when we say by 40, surely a man should have a family. By 55, you should have a side income or a passive income. Is that a contradiction to what our success is? That's what I want to ask. Benson.
Me, my take on this is we all belong to societies and communities, and usually these timelines that we're talking about are things that have been preset by the people that lived before us. So when it becomes common practice, it ends up becoming a standard. And because we belong to these societies, then it becomes a burden, or it becomes an obligation for you to make sure that you follow the standards of the society. There are a few outliers who can disagree, but then in society eyes, they'll be considered as failures. Though in your heart someone can be okay, but then society will be looking at you in a different way. For example, when someone is 50 years and is not married in this Ugandan setting, people start having questions in their heads. Is he okay? Is he? Most especially if that person is actually upright, people will start asking questions. So there's nowhere where it is written that you're supposed to marry at this age, but society expects you to marry after a certain age, and the society pressures will come on you, and then probably you will have to comply. So me, I think that those timelines and the clock that we are talking about is something that is set in our minds, and we have been following that, and we have been following that, and this has been over time. So we have all accepted that it's probably a standard.
Okay, thank you, Benson. Still think society sets these standards, and we need to, as members of society, we need to just follow. Peter, we're talking about milestones. By this time, you should have done this. By this time, you should have done this. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yes, by this time you should have got married. By that time you should have built a house. By that time you ought to have driven a car. If you could. As simple as that.
If you could.
As simple as that. If you could have married by 30 or by 25, that's okay. But at iTiS here we have got revelations over and over again, and we have discovered that most of the men who get married under 40, and in fact after 40, some of them are in defilement. They have been defiled. I mean, they have not reached the age of consent in their 40s and in their early and in their 30s. So,
okay. I was worried when you said defiled. I wanted you to break it down.
Yes, that's what I call defilement. Tebanetuka, babakutte. So many marriages or many so-called marriages have got a woman who has reached the age of consent and a man who is being defiled. A man who has not attained an age of consent. So you get married at 30, you realize this is not you. You never wanted this. You realize that after 10 years, and you divorce, and then you start struggling, and then you get another, it fails. So yes, by that age, you must have built. Let me give you a story. My father finished his house or built his house at the age of 53, 55. 55, yes. That's when he finished his house. At 55, I was, I think, in senior 6. I was his last born then. It was my mother with him. As I speak today, he's got another house, and the house he built before is a domicile for goats, for coffee beans, and for bees. He's got other children, and the eldest is now making 20, and the second is making 17. He's got a new mother, probably happier, and probably much happier. So my father had not built a house by 30. He built it by 55. Today he lives in another. And the one he built out of his youthly sweat is domicile for goats, beekeeping, and a silo for coffee beans. So, so by 30, you must have got married? Okay. So you got a degree. You got a PhD at 25? Good. I think, but I doubt whether that is in any way a parameter or a measure of success. I doubt so. So if you could, fine. If you could not, fine. Question, how do you feel? Question, how do you think?
How do you feel? How do you think? Thank you, Peter. Tom, your hand is up. Hope we can now hear you better than last time.
Yes, moderator. I feel Peter. I also had Pedison when he submitted about society and its influence. I think society is a whirlpool of ignorance unknowledgeable people whom, if you listen to, you go into panic. You commit mistakes. You make mistakes. You may commit suicide. You may kill yourself in pursuit of what society calls success. I think success is individual. Success is not gauged by society. It should be set by individuals. Much as we said, success is not a point in life. It's a transition. It is a journey. It is a movement. So if you listen to society, you'll go into a panic. You will think you are late. You will think you are useless. And I think society shouldn't be listened to in things that make life. Society shouldn't. We can listen to experts, yes, but society as it is, no. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Isaiah, I'm back to you. Actually, while Peter was speaking, something popped up in my mind. You see how some people get married thinking they are ready, they are limited information, whatever it is. So is it also possible? And then, of course, when they get there, they realize they had no clue about what marriage is. So is it also possible for you to think you are successful in the areas we have mentioned, the 3 Fs and the others, and yet it actually says you're in a delusion? Is it possible? If yes, how? Or if no, why not? Isaiah, I'm back to you.
Now, to answer your question, let me ask you, have you ever seen a person who loves their wife? I mean their house. They built their house. It is their dream, quote and unquote. It is their dream house. And then lo and behold, they visit a friend. Who are you
Then they want
laughing?
to break theirs. Because I have a friend who keeps changing his house. Every time he walks outside Uganda, every time he comes back, he breaks and builds. And he comes back after 2 years, he breaks and builds. Mhm. That's why I'm laughing.
So now that is the answer to your question. It is very possible. And why is it possible? Because we human beings have failed to understand that we are limited in knowledge, and the knowledge is progressive. Okay, number one. Number two, and at least we have even failed to discover that now that knowledge is a progressive business, we need to determine what we want and decide on that, and actually choose to stay with what we have decided and determined as our need and our want, regardless of the better that will later come. And normally when we tell people this, they say, you are lazy. You don't want people to have desires. You don't want people to grow. Because how can you grow if you're not desiring? Growing to what goal? Because today we are fighting with filling our houses with appliances. I told you of a story. I worked for a German guy. He had a project there in what is this place where the Adventists have a hospital? Somewhere there.
Shaka.
In Ishaka. This German guy had a project there in Ishaka. And then he took me to speak to his workers. And then his wife called.
Is that where you went and he switched on a certain switch and the bed disappeared?
No, that's the guy. So his wife called. That is the story I'm trying to tell these guys. His wife called, and then he told me, "Hey, this is my wife," and the wife was moving in an empty room. And then I asked the brother, "Why is your wife in an empty room? Are you guys looking for a new house or what?" No. He said, "This is home, but she's in the bedroom." And then I said, "What do you mean she's in the bedroom?" Then she said, "No, it's a virtual house, so things come up when they are needed." Then the Ugandan in me said the impossible. Then he said, "Honey, can you help my friend here see what I mean?" Then the woman started switching on, and the bed was coming from the ground. You know, things were coming from the ground, you people. And the room was filled. So moderator, let me ask you, what is your goal of a bedroom, Kozi?
I also want to press a switch and the bed comes. Now I've changed.
So what do you want? What do you want? Do you want to sleep, or you want a bed of a switch? You people, this is who we are, and this is what Peterson actually kept telling us, that this is what society has communicated. But are we going to follow society? To what end? Because society is struggling. We cannot be in a society and we, as reasonable beings, and we decide to do what society tells us to do. Is society always right? For instance, at this and this time you have to do this. At this and this time you have to do it. Then society is telling you philosophically that because we have a 24-hour day, therefore, every hour in those 24 hours means the same thing to everyone. But gentlemen, while we are here sleeping, other countries it is daytime. True or false?
True.
Then why are you doing the same thing at the same time the society has determined? It is a broken philosophy and logic. You can't say that because we have a 24-hour day, therefore, time is is a suit that fits all. So what Jethro did at 30, I must also do at 30 or die. This is how societies create problems for themselves. People are stealing because they are fighting against a time set by a society. Others are stressed. Others are driving badly on street because they are chasing a particular time set by who? I don't know. And moderator, like I've always told you, personally, maybe that's why I am where I am. I never participate in races that I never participated in setting there. Okay.
Peter, do you want to say something? You switched on your mic.
No, in a rat race which you never set, you commit suicide. For example, we are expected to have a PhD here. But a PhD in such a country demands financial resources, time resources. So in other words, if you're going to have yourself pay for the PhD, you need to set yourself. So you struggle for 4 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, and the next thing is what you hear in corridors. Yamulema, kana no kali kagezi, kali kagezi naye ha PhD akalema. Kali awo kamala budde, simanyi kafumbo. So what you do, you sell your land, you sell your car, you sell your family, you sell your house to go back for a PhD, because besides being a requirement, a job requirement, it is a social requirement in the social cultural setting or social cultural institution in which you are, aka university. So, but sincerely, do you need a PhD in order to teach? Does a PhD add anything to your teaching capacity? At university level, does a PhD necessarily make you a better facilitator? So So in most cases, we do not do things because they are needs. We do them because they are demands. So society or the social culture institution demands it, so you go get it. For example, we know of people here and elsewhere who got married because it was a social culture institutional demand. So they went on and got married. You know? So I don't know. I really don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, Petero. Ian, are you there? You've been quiet, and we are beginning to wrap up. Do you want to say something? Okay, which was your hand is up.
You see now my question and okay, what I want to ask is if you refuse to listen to society, then there is also information from somewhere, because whatever information that we are relying on to make our decisions is not from a vacuum, it's coming from somewhere. So where will that information come from? That is my question. For example, if society is saying you're supposed to marry at 25, now for you, if you say that me, I'm going to marry after 40, what is forming the basis of your opinion? What is the information that is saying that marrying at 40 is better than marrying at 25?
I want Isaiah to answer that one.
Before Isaiah comes,
Okay, Tom?
yeah, it's based on saying that society includes the experts in society, or he's talking about society as in people who just keep saying things unresearched out of impulse and without analyzing. Because I think within society we have experts whom we can listen to, who can tell us, married at 25 this will happen, married at 40 this will happen. I think we can listen to the experts. But listening to society where a person thinks you marry at 25, even when you are not ready mentally to marry, you listen to that.
Okay, Benson, by society, you meant the experts or people generally?
Now, society, I'll go back to where I started from. When you keep doing something consistently and other people adopt that norm, it somehow becomes a standard. Whether it is based on empirical research or data, but as long as it works it works, and then people follow it up, and then it becomes like a standard. So now when you talk about a counterculture, now you want to do something that society has not been doing. Now, what will be the basis of your decision or your actions? So me, to answer Tom's question, it may be people, it may be the system which has been established over a long period of time.
Okay. So Isaiah, the reason you go to school is to learn from experiences of others so that you don't necessarily repeat their mistakes. So Peterson seems to argue that the reason society says these things is because they've gone through certain experiences and they feel, of course, at that point in time, that these are the best ways to either, in this case, measure success or the lack of. So if you're not going to use society's measure or any contextual measure, then what are you going to use? think that's Peterson's question.
Yes, I think to respond to Peterson's question, the source of information is not as important as the quality of information, because in the studies of ethos, the credibility, sometimes it's the quality of information that credits the source. And later, if the source continues doing that, then the information is credible because of the source, which is actually risky in information analysis. It is risky, but those who are careful actually investigate the information, regardless even of the source. So when Peterson says, if not society, where are you going to get, what is the source of your information? Well, let me even base on that source analysis, source of information, and say that the units of every society are individuals, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Now, you as an individual, regardless of what society wants, what do you want? This is what makes society happy. But what makes you happy as an individual? Because you can be in a crowd laughing and you are not laughing. And we've seen that several times. And you can be in a crowd crying and you are laughing or smiling about the whole thing. So the unit members of every society are individuals.
Isaiah.
Mm.
Sorry to cut you short, but Chairman,
Yeah.
allow me. The definition of happiness, what we call happiness, also is informed by past experience or is taught. It doesn't come from a vacuum.
Okay.
Because I remember there's a time when you gave us an example. If you see a mango, before you eat it, you will not know the taste. You only know the taste when after you've eaten it. So happiness is also experienced, probably by, it's also experienced. It doesn't just come from a vacuum.
Yes, and no one is saying that this information comes from a vacuum. I was still making my point. I have not made a point that that happiness comes from a vacuum. I have only presented the fact that the source of information is not always as important as the quality of information. That is what I have put across. Then I had shifted to a point of individual merit, because society here has dominated us. But now the question is society right because it is powerful and therefore we argue might is right, or might is always right, or society is right because it is the right thing? These are the questions we should be asking. And when we ask that, your question again qualifies and says, okay, what is the source of that information? The source of that information, Peterson, I started earlier by saying, it should be in your analysis of the problem. What is the problem? Therefore, you start living life solving that defined problem, not the problem that was defined by others. Because, Asim, your problems are not my problems. And what distinguishes these two problems is our definitions and our perception. Okay, and our experiences, what we have gone through. But here's the thing. Society does not necessarily have to go what you have gone through as a person to come up with a conclusion on the problem that you have gone through yourself. So, in case you front the idea of experience again here in this discussion, we again ask, is my experience, I Mutabazi Tumwine, Isaiah White, my experience, is it the experience of every Bahima, of all Bahima?
It may not be the same.
It may not be the same. So why doesn't the Muhima Isaiah sit alone and defy where necessary the Bahima solution to this challenge? Why must Isaiah behave like a Muhima regardless, just because the Bahima say that behave like this? I'll give you an example. let me give you this example, and then you come in. Can I?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, yes.
I was arguing today with my Muhima friend, and I was telling her that by the way, I'm sorry to mention this, but I've spent 3 weeks consecutive without sleeping. Without sleeping from morning to morning. So I went and and visited someone to help me, and then he advised me that before I give you melatonin supplements, I want you to go and use marijuana. You drink it in hot water. So I started talking to this Muhima friend of mine that I was advised to take Injaga. And she was like, you can't take Injaga. First of all, you're born again. Secondly, you know what Injaga does to people. And then I told her, but this is now medicinal. It is medicinal Njaga. They have not been asked to smoke Njaga. She said, no, you can't do that. You just can't do that. And then
ogenda kufuna samoni ez'amaanyi.
and then and then she asked me, if you were told that medicine is in mukene or fish, would you eat fish because of medicine? Then I said yes, I would. She said, I can't. Then I asked her, if they give that medicine to your child, would you give it to your child or not? She said, I would give it to her, but she cannot suckle my breast again, and I can't kiss her again. Then I asked her, what are your reasons for all this thing? She said, you know us. We have a Isaiah. We can't eat fish. Does anyone understand my point now? This is a cultural definition of fish. The Barokole don't take Injaga. Christians cannot drink Injaga. Even if it is medicine, yes, they can't. They rather die. This is a society dominating, and the society is wrong. Science has proven it wrong. People are still insisting. The Bible says no. The Bible says, but what does science say? So at a certain point, Peterson, we have to defy culture and determine what is wrong and what is right. Because these cultures are various. There's scientific culture, there's religious culture, there's the traditional culture, there's what. You look at all of them and then come up with a solution. Come up with the determination of what success is. It is like going to the shrines for a witch doctor to give you a visa to the United States. And you are not doing what the visa office is asking you to do. You are just running to the shrine. Are you really analyzing all the cultures so that you can come up with your own? I agree, Peterson. This source of information can be all these various cultures, but shouldn't be one restrictive culture. And you are bound to that. Which culture says that at 30, you must have done this? From what culture? Okay. What do other cultures say? What do you say? Because you also have a head. It must function as well. For me, that is my argument. The moderator has gone and the time is up. Hello, moderator.
Sorry. I was talking to myself and muted. Sorry. I was saying that's all we had time for today. Thank you very much for joining in. We'll be back on Monday with the Q&A session. Isaiah will be the moderator.
Hey.
Today we'll be discussing the Ugandan Dream. Now, if you missed this, of course, you can listen to it on YouTube. And of course, we prefer to get some comments and feedback from you about it. So thank you very much for joining, and God bless you. See you Monday.
Bye.
Yeah.